Hey everybody, this is Rich and you're with Beekeeping with Rich. So a few days ago I was harvesting honey, which is the fun part, and the not so fun part is cleaning up all the supers and things, and that means you're scraping lots of propolis. So I thought I'd show you something interesting with propolis. The other day I had some and I made up some propolis salve using coconut oil. Just coconut oil and propolis. Made this one to be a fairly runny salve. It is South Florida, so the temperature outside is about 85 degrees. But we're going to make some more propolis salve. So on here I have a couple of Butcher Boy coconut oils from the dollar store. So we have a grand total of 14.5 ounces of coconut oil in the pot here. No idea how much propolis I have right here. I'm going to add it in until everything just seems right. We're starting to get legs on this. It shouldn't be frying anything just yet, but we're going to start throwing some in there.
By legs, you mean the oil's hot?
By legs, I mean the oil is hot. Turn it up some now that we actually have the material in there. So let's start with that. I have these wonderful stainless steel chopsticks, which I like to use for things like this because they're so easy to clean after the fact. So we're going to stir up this propolis, get it to dissolve in the oil. Then we will add beeswax to it. Taking it quite nicely.
Will you strain it?
My wife just asked if I'm going to strain it. No, not actually. Well, I'll skim the bug parts off the top of it. There'll be dirt and stuff on the bottom, and mostly I'll just pour away from that. But if I do get some in there, it will be in the very bottom bit right here, and I can just as easily take that off. So for that much, wow, that really dissolved nicely and quickly. It's working out quite nicely. Obviously I can add more propolis because I've got it to add. And hey, more is better. Most of the time, not really a true statement. I'd say that was probably a little bit from one of my dryer sheets, the Swiffer sheets that I use in there for hive beetle control. Yeah, let's throw a little bit more in. This is working nicely.
While you're at it, what are you going to skim it with?
True enough. No, I don't really even think we need a simmer. This other batch, I did get very hot. It didn't seem to have damaged anything, but I don't think that that kind of heat is actually necessary. If you'll excuse me for just a second, I'm going to go get something to skim the dead bees off the top of this. Oh yeah, I don't want it to get any hotter than that. It's cool. Watch. Are you watching this?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that cool the way that does that?
What is it doing?
Well, it's just rolling itself into a little ball. Makes it really easy. Maybe, yeah, well, how am I going to clean that? Well, actually, it's easy, guys. Propolis dissolves in alcohol. So when the time comes, I'll just put it in a bit of alcohol. Now, I don't think that needs to come out just yet. Now, of course, propolis being what it is, there's all kinds of other gunk in there too, including a tiny bit of wax, but we're going to add a whole lot more wax here in just a minute. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's starting to smell. What's it smell like?
It smells like rosins. Yep, it just smells like rosins. Okay.
How much wax you added?
Enough.
You have to specify.
Yeah, I can't specify. I'm probably going to add about that much. This is from a bar of wax that's poured into a soap mold. But it's going to be whatever it takes is what I'm going to add. And I can just go back to carving smaller pieces off. I am not a follow the recipe kind of cook. I am just do it until it tastes right. And I'll show you, it's like, why is there a plate over here? Well, I'll show you why there's a ceramic plate over here in a second. So you're probably asking yourself, well, what are you going to use something like this for? Well, a propolis ointment like this can be used on any kind of topical injuries. And given that there's really, actually, I guess if I was going to use this for dental reasons, I probably wouldn't add the beeswax to it. I would just leave it as a very liquid solution. But if you didn't add the beeswax to it, you could put this in your mouth and swish it around to help with dental problems and such too. You know, infection of a tooth or something. But this way, it'll mostly get used to put on just whatever skin issues you might have. I have to go to the dermatologist next week. He'll undoubtedly burn a couple of places off of my head, and I will come home and put some of this on the places he burns off my head. Okay, it's about time to start checking this. Get this all mixed up.
So how many ounces of coconut oil was that?
14 and a half.
Of? People
14.
Can't hear me.
14 and, oh, my wife just asked me how much coconut oil I use, and any of you who were watching the video will know I said at the beginning, which apparently she wasn't paying attention to,
Nope.
but 7.25 twice is 14 and a half ounces. But now let's find out where we're at.
Get it in the light. I can't see anything. No.
Nope.
There.
Okay.
What am I looking for?
Well, we're letting that cool and then seeing, right now it is a very loose ointment. I want a whole lot more thickness in the consistency than that. And why don't we just do it the fun way? Hey, don't laugh, it works. See? Look how it's starting to round out.
But you know already you don't want to add the whole thing?
I don't know that I don't want to add the whole thing. I may run off and get more. Who knows? But yes, I don't expect that I will need more than this whole thing. I expect to need slightly less, but we'll see. Oops. Come back, come back.
You lost it.
I lost it years ago, dear. It's like, yeah, look how much smaller that's getting.
So tell them where you put it on a plate.
Well, you can't tell from in here how thick or thin your ointment is. By putting a couple of drops on a cold plate, it cools quickly, and you get a clear idea of exactly how thick your ointment is.
So you know when to stop.
So I know when to stop. See how quickly that stopped? It didn't run or anything. Now when that cools a little bit more, oh yeah. Now see, there's a crisp break on that. Much better. You can make the, you make it your way. You don't have to make it my way.
You mean consistency-wise?
Consistency-wise, you can make this anywhere from a hard cream. I'm going to use the rest of this, and I think we're going to call it good at that point.
Hard cream to?
We're down to an ointment. So liquidy, you could just, put it on anything. Somewhere in the middle is where I like it. This one over here, again, this is outside room temperature. You can see it's not tough, but it's not a bad consistency if you wanted to put it on a spot. I know there's a little roughness right there.
And tell them what it does when you put it on your head.
Well, it's an antibiotic. My wife's asking, well, what does it do for you when you put it on your head? Well, it's an antibiotic. Basically, obviously coconut oil is good for your skin, but the propolis is excellent for healing because it acts as a very strong antibiotic.
And a barrier.
And of course a barrier, because you don't want to put a band-aid over this or anything. Okay. I think that's probably the end of that.
Ready for another plate test?
Ready for another plate test.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a nice firm cream.
You don't have to let it cool?
I could let it cool a little bit for my own safety, but no. Oh, she asked, aren't I going to let it cool? I said I could let it cool for my own safety, but I'm not going to.
And it has to be pouring consistency, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep means what?
She asked me if it's pouring consistency. I don't even understand why she's asking the question, but whatever. Yes, it needs to be at a consistency to pour it.
Too much.
Too much. Ha ha, of course, too much. Well, when it cools, it will shrink slightly. But yeah, kind of overdid it there.
Put the rest in the other jar.
Yeah, well, given that they're plastic jars, it might melt.
Oh.
But I will do that. So look how, there's your sludge in the bottom. And you can see how much less that is than the other. And that's real, honest to God, dirt and all kinds of other stuff. Well, we don't know what's going to happen. The wrong one.
Maybe not.
Well, the worst that's going to happen is the whole bottle will shrink to nothing. So if you see the bottle start to shrink, you might want to back up, because if it falls sideways, you're in open-toed shoes.
Yep.
Yep, see how the bottle started shrinking?
I'm backing up. Oh yeah. Yep, not a good idea.
Nope, wasn't a good idea. I don't pour anything hot into
Plastic.
cheap plastic jars because that's what happens.
Now explain to people where you got that pan.
Oh, well, where are my pans? Well, there's nothing like Pyrex pans, and I pick them up at the dollar store, and I'll tell you.
At the thrift store.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
They don't
I
sell those.
said dollar store, and I meant to say thrift store. Pyrex brand pans. It's like when you use a pan for something to do with beekeeping, it's committed to just beekeeping because you can't clean them out. Well, you know what? When it's hot, you can clean them out.
Not enough for food.
I'd cook some soup in there and eat it.
You would, I would not.
Yeah, my wife says she wouldn't. And hey, smoker fuel, at least for lighting it off.
Waste nothing.
Waste not, want not. But I melt wax in this all the time, and when it gets to the end, I just wipe out the wax with a paper towel and use it for smoker fuel. So there we go on that. This will cool off. It's already starting to shrink down below the rim.
When it cools, how low will it go?
Well, probably, she asked me how low will it go. It'll probably go to about there, right about this first twist.
And then what'll you do? Put the cover on it?
Then I'll put the cover on it.
And how do you store it?
I'll store this at room temperature, more than likely. If I put it in the refrigerator, it'll just be a solid block you'd have to carve out.
And then how do you use it?
Well, my wife's asked me, how do you use it? You just saw me put some on a little rough spot on my head. And if I had a scrape or a cut, I'd rub it on there. Heck, if I had acne or something, I'd probably just use it as a facial for acne. You know, just put it on for 20 minutes and then scrub with soap and water real good and see what it does.
So that's it?
That's it. It's a simple little video. So this has been Rich with Beekeeping with Rich. Like and subscribe, and have a great day, everybody.